Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing dandelion syrup. It's got many medical and medicinal properties to it that we'll be going through and listing down below in the comments. Please join us for our nature's journey today. All we need is a basket, and we're going to need a knife of some sort, and we're going to end up cutting right at the top of the head, right underneath the stem, to avoid the bitterness of the stem. So we'll go through one by one, and we'll cut a few. We need about 250 to 350 of them. So we'll cut them right underneath the head. We try to cut it right underneath to avoid the stem, because the stems are a little bit bitter. So we cut it right underneath, just like that. Pop them in, just like that. Pop them in. Another note to take is make sure that you don't cut them anywhere in an area where it's been fertilized or pesticide use is being used on a regular basis. So make sure that you're in a clean area where you're sure that they don't use any pesticide, because you will be consuming it. And now what you can do is you can zoom in over here and then zoom in right on the knife and on the flower itself, and we're going to cut it right at the back, right over here, just like that, just to avoid that stem, because again it will be bitter if you have those stems. You could always pluck off the difference, the remaining of the stem later on, but if you're cutting it, you can make one cut and get it done as well. Now we have more than enough of these. We've collected some earlier, so we got more than enough of them, but I've got about 350 of them. Anything from 250 to 350 is okay, and we'll move on to the kitchen next. Now that we've collected about 350 of them, which is this is obviously a lot less. This is just a sample piece. I've got them, the rest of them collected and ready to go, but this is just to illustrate to you guys what's being done. So we've got a few here, and we're going to pick out a tray. We're going to put it out into the sun outside, and we're going to scatter them around. If possible, try to put them face up. You don't have to be super thorough, but if you put them face up, the key to this is to get them to dry out a little bit for about an hour in the good sun. As long as it's nice and warm and toasty. Here in southern Ontario, we are about mid-May point, Mother's Day to be exact, and these dandelions are in full bloom here. So we're going to let that sit for about an hour, let them dry out a little bit, and then bring them in for the next step. And this is about 1 hour in the sun of the dandelions. So as you can see, they're slightly drying out, just slightly. It helps with the flavor. And then what we do is we go through all of these, and we end up, if you zoom in, we end up picking up and throwing away the stem, because we want to get rid of as many stems as possible to make sure that we don't get that bitter taste. So let's get rid of some of those stems where lots of the milk is in the stem. So we want to get rid of it. I'm just going to glance through these here. Oh, there's a few here. Now, dandelions have many medicinal benefits, and they've been used for hundreds of years, long forgotten by many people. And I think it's time for people to re-engage with nature, re-engage what nature has to offer in healing. And what ends up happening is, you know, with consuming the syrup that we're doing, it's a dandelion syrup. It's great for anybody that, you know, has a joint pain or inflammation. It lowers cholesterol, blood pressure. It's superb for digestion and also liver cleansing. So, highly recommended. as a very, very strong nature's remedy for many things that improve your lifestyle. There we go. I think we got most of them there. If you miss a few, it's not the end of the world, but you just want to make sure you get the majority of them. Now what we'll do is we'll bring the tray over, and we're going to take all of these into the sink and we're going to wash them. So now I'm just going to throw them all into the sink. I filled it with water, fresh clean water, and we're going to do a little bit of a rinse. And we're just going to rinse them out, make sure that there's nothing in them that we don't want. Give them a good little rinse. Alright, and then what we're going to do is we're going to move them over. I got one of these little strainers, and I got a pot that we're going to actually cook it in. And I put that strainer over the pot, and then I just pull them out and I pop them in there. You can, once that's all done, then we're going to try to shake out as much water as we can out of them. And we're going to rotate them back into the pot. There we go, that's all of them. That's what it looks like. And we're going to let it drain out a little bit. We're going to dump all the excess water. Get a pot that's large enough. Now, this doesn't look like much, but this is about 350 of them, believe it or not. And once you strain them out, give them a little shake, pop them into the pan, and that's what you should be looking like. And in this pan, we're going to end up taking it over to the kitchen stove. And here what we're going to do is we're going to put it on the burner. We're going to put it on medium heat, maybe a little bit lower, just a notch or two below medium heat. So let's do like 1 notch below medium for starters. And here I've got 700 milliliters of water, which is about 1.5 US pints. And we're going to add that in. And we're going to allow it to heat up. I'm going to end up using a little spoon here. We're gonna sink the heads in, just so that they're, if you zoom in on this, just so that we can press the heads in so they can be saturated in water. We're gonna make sure that this comes to a boiling point. Once this comes to a boiling point, we're going to allow it to boil for about 4 minutes. We'll set the timer. And we'll start the countdown. And then we're going to be on to the next step. And the next step is over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see that. Anyways, they're whole cloves, and we're gonna put them into one of these, what I call a crusher. I'm not much of a cook, so I do apologize, but we're gonna crush them here. Until it gets crushed into a fine powder. And as the 4 minutes of boiling draws to a close, we're going to end up taking the lid off of the jar. And we're going to mix it you can start seeing that color, that golden color coming through. It's like a brownish golden color. Very nice color coming through. And then we're going to add that to the pot. I'm going to mix it in a little bit. I can smell it already. It smells great. Boiling it with the lid off for another 20 minutes. Just so that some of that steam can come off, so it can get a little bit thicker, okay? But don't have it boiling like a rampage boil. We're just going to turn down the knob to maybe about, let's call it 1 notch above simmer. Somewhere around there, because we got medium here, but 1 notch above simmer. That should just do fine. And then we'll just let it simmer like that for 20 minutes. Apologies for 20 minutes. There we go. And now as our 20 minutes draws to an end, we turn off the timer. And as we can see here, I'm going to give it a mix. We can see the nice dark yellow color. It looks really good. So now this 20 minutes is complete. It smells beautifully in the place. Absolutely beautifully. The whole house smells so fresh and so nice, like you wouldn't believe. And then what we do is we're going to take it off the heat, trim the heat off. We're going to put it on the cold side. And then we're going to cover it, and we're going to leave it just like that for 24 hours, and we'll come back to the next step. Approximately 24 hours, we're going to pull the lid off, and we're going to bring it over to the sink. That's what it looks like. It's nice and dark. It's like a greenish yellow. It's really, really nice. We're going to bring it over to the sink, and what we'll end up doing is straining it. I'm going to grab a strainer. And we're going to grab all of it and put it in there. And I'm pressing it in a little bit like a paste, squeezing it with my fist to get as much of the juice out of there as possible. It's a little difficult with the one-hand operation, but it's working. It's working. Slowly but surely we get it all. You know what? As a better idea, I'm gonna transfer it into this bowl here. And I'm going to run it through the strainer. I should have done that to begin with. Get all of them in here. There we go, run it through that. We'll save this for later. So we're going to put it right back in. And I'm going to basically take 2 hands and squish it. Squish it like a little ball. Let all that juice come through. All of that juice come through. Now take the rest of that, squeeze that. It almost feels like cotton in your hands, but I'm gonna let it all come through, all of it. There's quite a bit of juice in there, lots of nutrients. Alright, so then that's all you're left with, and then you have a nice dark golden brown juice, which is fantastic. I throw out the balance of it. I don't bother keeping it, there's no point. And then what we're going to do is we're going to transfer it back into the pot, just like that, back into the pot, now that it's all nice and clear. And what we're going to do is transfer it over to the stove again. And we're going to put it on medium heat one more time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add about 600 grams of white sugar. Or what you can do is you can add 20, it's the same as 23 ounces, US ounces of sugar. This seems like a lot, but if you look at it in perspective, you're only taking 1 tablespoon a day of this at most. So I know it looks like a lot, you know, but if you put it as a 1 teaspoon a day type of thing, you're not gonna have a heart attack thinking about how much sugar there is over here. I'm just gonna mix it in, and as that's mixing and as that's starting to heat up, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go grab a lemon from the fridge. Now if you have a juicer, you can actually juice it out with the juicer. I myself, I'm just gonna hand squeeze it and get as much of the lemon as I can out. Trying to give her a good squeeze here. Oopsie daisy. And I'm gonna rinse that strainer. We'll take the strainer right over the pan again, and we're gonna drain that juice right into it, just like that. And man, it's already starting to smell good. It's not even heated up all the way yet, but it's already smelling good. Yesterday the whole house smelled wonderful, absolutely wonderful with it. Really looking forward to trying this. As we mix it, sugar is going to melt. The lemon juice is going to get infused with taste inside. Fill it a little bit more, but here what I'm doing is I'm boiling it with the lid off for approximately an hour to an hour and a half. And that'll depend on the type of consistency that you want. Right now, it's about like that. And it all depends on how much of a syrup you want out of it. The more syrupy, the more you're gonna boil it. I do anywhere between 1 hour to an hour and a half. And that ends up working for me. Keep in mind, when it's hot, it's gonna end up being a little more liquid than when it cools down. Okay. Now the nice thing about this is, once you're done, you can pressure can it, or you can actually, you know, keep it in the fridge. It'll keep in the fridge for quite some time, and you can have just a spoon a day for all of its nutritional value and everything that'll bring to your health and earlier things that I've mentioned about it. So we'll let this go ahead and cook for about an hour, hour and a half, and we'll show you the consistency at that point. So a slight boil, a very slight boil, then you bring it down to a simmer, so it's a very light boil to get some of that water out of there, and that'll thicken it right up for you. I'll show you guys in about an hour what it looks like and how it pours compared to right now. So here we are at about 1 hour. We're gonna see what the consistency is like. I had the lid off majority of the time. As you can see, it's a beautiful color. It does get foamy a little bit if you put too much heat into it. But now if you look at the consistency, it's definitely thicker. But it's not exactly where I would want it. So I'm going to go ahead and give this another half an hour or so, and we'll see how it goes from there. Now it's been another half an hour, 30 minutes, so our total cooking time is an hour and a half. And when you look at it, it's a beautiful color, and it is coming down thicker now. It's a little bubbly, but if I take it off the heat, you'll get to see the real color. It'll calm down a little bit. As soon as it calms down, you'll see it's almost like a dark honey color. As soon as it cools down, you'll see it. Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. Look at that. Now if you take it, you can see the true color. As soon as it settles from the bubbling. And then now this consistency right there is what I'm looking for. Just slightly clunky. Still very liquid, but it's slightly clunky. So when this cools off, you're going. It's not stringy. It doesn't pour out like a string. It's like clunky. You see that? That's the spot where you want to be at. Like that, where it's kind of groups together in clumps. Well, not really clumps, but like it doesn't pour like water, smoothly like water. And that is the spot where I like it. The rest of it is completely up to you, what level you want it at. But you know, the end result is your product looks like this, and you can pour it into whatever jar or container. Once it cools down, you can store it in the fridge for many weeks. It'll stay good. Or what you can do is you can actually use a pressure cooker or a hot bath and put it in a jar and seal it for many years to come. And I only use 1 teaspoon of this per day when the timing is right, when I want it. And that is it. That hopefully you guys enjoy. Take care.